Tonight, coming out from the edge of the world, we have the one and only Sarah Chang Tadayon. Sarah, how you doing?
I'm doing so good. Thanks so much for having me. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you for coming on. I know it was super last minute, and for some reason, I was compelled to talk to you because I was feeling a little bit of a writer's block, right?
Mm.
Just creative blockages, and I've been watching you on social media, and I see that you're doing a lot, and it echoes that chutzpah of there's two kinds of people: you do or you don't do, and you look like a doer.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, it's all smoke and mirrors.
Well, Sarah and we first came into each other's world because I was on deck to work on one of your projects.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like
Polyester.
this close to doing it, but it never worked out. And now, like over a year later, I have this project in my hands. I have your baby in my hands.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you were supposed to be our editor last year, and you were like way too cool. Way above.
Too cool
It's
for
funny
school.
because we were like, oh my god, if we get Goose, like this is like it. We're gonna sell this project. But you were just too busy. You just couldn't have. I mean, you got so much going on, and then now COVID hit, and you're like, I can do it, and we're like, great.
What's this project called? Just so that listeners can understand what this is about.
So this is an original series. It's called Polyester. It's written by me and two other actresses, actually, Brianna Walden and Veronica Sixto. So there's the three of us. We got together like, I want to say 3.5 years ago. I was like sick of my shit. I was like coming back from Burning Man or something, and I was like, I fucking hate this industry. Oh, am I allowed to cuss? No.
Oh, profanity. Yeah, I feel it's
okay,
the most
profanities.
efficient way to express your feelings.
Okay, good. So I was really unhappy with my life. I had been trying to break into the industry as an actress for way too many years, like more than I want to mention. And someone was like, you should just write your own project. And I've, people tell you that like a million times, but like for whatever reason, this one time it actually like sunk in. Like I actually heard it. And
that
so
that million and one.
Million and one time, I was like ready to receive that like message. I was like, okay, the fire's lit under my ass. So I wrote like this mini series. We shot it. It was fucking horrible. It sucked balls. My agent was like, this isn't very good. Why don't you get together with other actresses and write something good? So I got together with Brianna Walden and Veronica Sixto. We weren't even really like friends at this point. We all went to the same high school. I knew they were both in the industry, especially Veronica. Like she's, you know her, like she's been on every freaking TV show and she starred in films and stuff like that.
Yeah, she's a triple threat.
Triple threat, that woman, I might add. And they were like on board, and we started getting together and getting to know each other and writing this project. And we realized that it wasn't going to be a web series. We're like, holy crap, like there's 3 storylines here. Like we were like, I'm gonna get a role and you get a role and you get a role, everyone gets a role.
Another triple threat.
I know. So we're like, exactly, the power of 3. So we would get together, we would talk story all the time, and then I would get together. I would like spend that week like writing, because I was the only one who had final draft. So I would write it, and then the next week we got back together and they would like edit what I wrote, like change the dialogue and be like, Sarah, this is not how humans talk. So they would like do all these changes on it, and then I'd get notes, I'd go back and I'd write it again and again. So anyways, a few months later, we're like, this is going to be a half-hour pilot. Let's just fucking go for a pilot.
Nice.
And a year later, we had a pilot. So it went from Confessions of a Nasty Woman to Ladylike to Polyester. It went way.
And I understand that's a play with words, polyester.
Yes. So her name is Esther, and she's Polly.
Hey.
Yeah. And she owns a pole dance studio in Los Angeles. So the first year we had these 3 storylines, and we had this show idea, this pilot, but then I don't know what, something clicked where I was like, hey, this should have a workplace. Like, where's our home base? And so I know I've been a pole dancer for the last 5 or 6 years, and it's been an incredible community, empowering, life-changing community for me. I was like, fuck it, let's just drop them in the pole world. It's a safe space. It's a secretive, mysterious, stigmatized world that has not been seen on television. And like competitive pole dancing, there's no TV show about it.
Nice.
Never been. So
it's awesome that you brought that to the forefront.
Last year, we got the financing to shoot a teaser, which is what you were brought on for, right? And we shot the teaser. The thing is I had written roles with a couple of other actors in mind. And one of them was Alicia Sixtos, and the other one was Bex Taylor Klaus. Because I was like, I hadn't met Bex at this point. I just knew about them from social media. And like, I knew that like, they were dating Veronica's sister. So I was like, I don't know, like maybe I should just write a role like with that person in mind. They seem like they'd be cool on this show. But I think Bex was like starring in like 13 Reasons Why, or guest starring it at this point. I was like, I don't know. Let me just write this role. Let's see what happens. And then we wrote another role that I was like, oh my God, it'd be amazing if Brian Michael Smith could play this role. And Brian Michael Smith was working on Queen Sugar. Again, had never met him, had no connection with this guy. I was like, this guy could be a great person for this role. Well, for the teaser, we got every single person that we wanted.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, Bex and Alicia, of course, like we got through Veronica, and then Brian Michael Smith somehow like crazily had met Bex some random event and just came on board. And the crazy thing is,
then all the dots got connected.
All the dots connected. And the crazy thing is he like had just booked the new L Word.
Oh.
So he shot with us, and then he shot the L Word, came to set, and then went back to the L Word the next day. And then like a month later, he booked a series regular on a Fox show. So we got him like right before he blew up.
Whoa.
Same thing with Bex. Like Bex shot and then booked Deputy and had to like leave to New Mexico as a series regular on another Fox show. So we got everyone right before like everybody disappeared to go work on other things. So yeah, we have this teaser. We have like a whole electronic package, basically. Like we're producers on it and we're starring in it. And I want to stay on as a writer. And as soon as you finish the trailer, the new trailer, we're going to, see who wants to work with us. We have a couple showrunners in mind, and we're talking to them. And luckily, we have a really good network.
And tell me about how it feels for you to be, struggling with booking stuff as an actor, and then empowering yourself to create your own content, and then see it come to life. Tell me about how does that feel for you?
Honestly, it was such a game changer, because I suddenly was in the driver's seat of my life. Before, I felt like I was just desperately waiting for auditions and trying to make connections that just like, hey, I'm an actor and I'm waiting for an opportunity to land in my lap. And now I'm, my life has changed. And watching that come to life was life changing. I felt like, okay, I'm never going to be scared of anything ever again. I remember after that shoot, I was like, nothing's going to scare me. Of course, that high doesn't last very long, but since then I've gone on to produce other projects. I've produced an indie horror film that's on Crackle right now, and then I line produced, which was crazy. Line producing is totally insane, but I wanted to learn how everything worked, like how every part of the gears worked to make a movie shoot happen. So I line produced an indie queer pilot in February, survived the tail, and then I actually ended up acting in it because the writer wrote me a scene like last second.
Oh wow!
Funny thing is so I'm a producer, and then she hands me these pages, And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. She's like, thank you so much for, working on this project and producing this project. Like, this is my gift to you. My love letter to you is giving you this role. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, but it's 4 pages. How do we have time to add this to the schedule? Like, I thank you so much, but holy shit, like, this is a 5-day shoot. We're trying to do like 7 pages a day. Now I have to cram like 4 more pages on the last day. And it was amazing. But between every take, okay, it's a close up on Sarah, like between takes, I'd be like, what time is it? How many hours until lunch? Okay, go back into acting. Okay, come back, like producer mode, like what time is it? How many hours until lunch? But long story short, it's been a game changer.
That's amazing. I'm glad that it's opened up a different world for you. And
oh yeah.
Speaking of different worlds, you represent like 2 different parts of the world.
Yeah.
Actually 3 now, right? Because you live here in the US. But
yeah,
tell us your origin story. I want to know, because for the people who don't know and the people who do know, tell us a little bit about where
the people who do know,
Sarah Chang Tadayon comes from.
So my dad is from Iran and my mom is Chinese from Taiwan. And I grew up here. I was born and raised here, but I speak all 3 languages. And I've worked in both television markets, actually. So I lived in Taiwan when I was 21 till 25. I worked in television there. And then I came back here and I had a talk show that was airing in Iran for about a year. That was interesting times. But yeah, I'm a trilingual, tricultural mutt.
So you speak Mandarin, English, and Farsi.
Yeah.
Damn, that's so far out.
It's definitely something I'm very proud of. It's
That's
like
amazing.
It's my hook to life.
Like I can hang with all the Romance Latin languages, right? Mm-hmm. I can defend myself with a little Russian and Hebrew, but no Asian language has ever come into my brain. So how has it been for you growing up, not only speaking those 3 languages, but also being involved in those 3 different cultures?
That's a loaded question. I feel like I've had an identity crisis for like the last 31 years. So I actually studied my undergrad in anthropology at UCLA, and my favorite subject was linguistics. And basically, they say that when you speak another language, you're living that culture, like you're learning that culture through the language, right? And when I code switch, as in when I speak Chinese or when I speak Persian or when I speak English, I actually shift very subtly. I have a shift in how I present myself. Literally, like the octave of my voice changes. When I speak Chinese, I'm super submissive. My voice is super high. I have a different attitude. And then when I speak Persian, I'm like, I don't know, like more warm. And yeah, I'm a lot warmer, and it's just different. And when I speak English, I feel like the most me. But it's been really hard to like reconcile like all my identity. Like if someone asks me like, do you feel more Persian or do you feel more Chinese? Like there's no way to answer that. I feel 100% both.
I completely relate to it on a bilingual level, on a bicultural level, because of being Mexican and speaking Spanish and English and living in America. But to actually do it on a 3rd level, to be a triple threat like you, that to add, I mean, French for me, like would be the closest thing to me. But
when I speak English, I feel very centered, but you can drop me off in Iran for 2 weeks, and then I will extend my trip to a month, and then I will extend it for 2 months, and then I never want to leave. And then I'm like, why don't I stay here forever? Which is what happens every time I go. When I went to Taiwan, it was supposed to be for 3 weeks. I stayed for 3 years. So I feel at home in both countries. sometimes I miss it. Like I miss Taiwan every day. I talk about it all the time.
So how does a tricultural young actor woman get bit by the acting bug? How did that happen for you?
So, well, I grew up, so I have a tiger mama. All Asian children have a tiger mom. So I grew up, doing 15,000 things every day after school. I would go to like ballet, piano, tap, jazz, Chinese school, Farsi school, Kumon math, which I sucked at. Like SAT preps and this and that, everything.
But that's part of that culture, right? Like be competitive and overachiever so you can perform globally.
Exactly. And like, I think gymnastics at one point and everything. My mom was like, hopefully she's going to be an Olympic champion or something. And then I wake up one day and I'm like, I'm going to be an actor. And they're like, why? What happened? I'm like, well, hello. No, but that's not how I got the bug. The bug was, I was 15. I was pretty like depressed or something. I was not doing well. When your parents, like the way they treat you at home is opposite of what like society says is appropriate ways to treat a child. Like I don't want to get too much into it, but
I got you. I know what that means.
You got what I'm talking about. You got what I'm talking about. Exactly. Like social services situation.
Exactly.
I had a really hard time. I had a really hard time in high school, and I had taken some acting classes that my mom had sent me to. And when I was 18, I reached out to one of my acting teachers and I was like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm still teaching. And I was like, can you like teach me how to act? I just think it's fun. I think it's going to be good for me. Really, I should have gone to therapy, but of course, I didn't think of it that way.
But acting can be therapeutic.
It is. I have my my opinions about that now. I don't know if it was like the best industry for me to get into because I needed attention. I was like crying out for help, and of course, like sticking a camera in my face was like, and working through my issues on screen was how I thought I was gonna, fix things. Mm-hmm. But that's not how you fix problems. So, anyways, I was 18. I think I was like 17. I didn't have my driver's license. And I lived in Woodland Hills and this guy lived in Silver Lake. And I took the bus. It took like an hour and a half to get to his house. Like I took the bus, I would go to his house. We'd work on scenes. I'd take the bus home. This was every single Saturday. And I was like, I got a job at Starbucks so I could pay for these classes. He was like, if you don't do this professionally, I'm not going to teach you anymore. You're like born to do this. In retrospect, I feel like it wasn't the smartest thing to tell. He was 28 at the time.
Oh.
I don't think a 28-year-old man should tell an 18-year-old girl what she was born to do.
Right.
Because I believed that this is what I was born to do. And I got bit by the bug, right?
Well, as a teenager, your cognitive process is still developing until you're 24. So we become really, enamored with the world because we have a curious mind because we're still exploring. So I could see the impact of those statements.
Yeah. And I spent the next 10 years chasing this dream. And then when I went to Taiwan, I landed, television shows. I ended up becoming like a TV host. I wasn't really happy. I wasn't really getting the roles that I wanted here. I wasn't getting the roles I wanted there because I was too ethnic here, not Asian enough when I was there. It was like a whole thing. And when I came back, I was like, I fucking hate this industry. It sucks. So I ended up like quitting and moving to the Ventura and like working with sea lions for a year. It was weird. And like learned to paint and like studied accounting. I was like, I'm just going to do like anything else. I got pulled back in by another friend, who was my agent for a couple of years. And she was like, you're born to do this.
And how old was she at the time? And how old were
She
you?
was my age, and I think I was like
Wow.
26.
So you know,
Yeah, or 27. I don't even know
so
how.
now they're fanning the
Fucking
flames.
dude, honestly, when until you're like 50, don't be telling like young people like what they're born to do, please. Just don't. So
Well,
honestly, if I was when I was 10 years old, if you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I said I wanted to be a writer.
wow.
Yeah.
And now you're actually writing your own content.
Now I'm writing. I'm actually, because of COVID, I lost my really cushy executive assistant job for an investor. So I was like, well, what am I gonna do with my life? And my partner, who actually is an admissions and records counselor at California State University, was like, you should go to CSUN for your MFA in screenwriting. And I was like, hell no. Like, I like writing, but I'm not a screenwriter. I just wrote one thing. I only ever wrote one thing. It took me forever to write it. And like so many other people helped to make this thing happen. But I applied, I got in. There's 13 of us in the program.
Hey, congratulations.
Hey, thank you. And so now I'm writing all the time. And I learned that it's not about, like, yes, the structure, learning how to do a 5 or 3 or 6 act structure is important. And like having especially with television, it has to be very structured. But it's all about, do you got a good story? Can you tell a good story? Like, do you have an original story?
Story is king and queen.
Exactly. So that's what I realized is my fear of not being like an excellent structured screenwriter has now been squashed by me realizing it's about the story.
Right, because the mechanics of the storytelling can be honed and mastered, but finding a compelling story that you can fall in love with and share with the world and have other people fall in love with, that is the diamond in the rough.
Exactly. And it's interesting because I got into the program. I wasn't sure if I had any stories. And this one professor, his name is Jared Rappaport. He's incredible. He would put us in the hot seat. We had no idea what we were getting into every Thursday night. And he told us at the beginning of class, like, your goal in this class is to fail. If you fail, you get an A. So just fail. Yes. Yeah. He was like,
where this is going. I like where this is going.
Dude, he was like, I want you to fucking fail. I want you to find your voice and throw away everything you ever learned about screenwriting and just fail. So, he would put us in the hot seat. Like, he'd be like, okay, you have 10 minutes to come up with like a screenplay, 10 minutes to come up with like an entire like story pitch, or you have like 10 minutes to write a scene with like this prompt, or okay, like write down all your deepest, darkest secrets that like, that were the formative things of your life, that like you're just like all your mental health shit and like all your like trauma. Oh, now we're gonna read it to everyone else in the class. Like it was totally batshit.
Oh my god, you got put on blast.
I got put on blast, but like the stories that came out through that were just like crazy. I wrote this short because we had to write that class. Like other classes, we had to write an hour-long show for my other class. But for this one, he was like, just write a short film and just have it be from the heart. And I wrote this short film about this Iranian village girl that lives in the mountains. And it's like, honestly, it's like the best shit I've ever written in my fucking life, because there was no expectations. I just wrote from the heart. And it's, I don't know, like I love the story, and I made myself cry. Like I wept writing this story because someone dies. And every time I had to go over that part, I would just be sobbing. And we had to read it in class, and we did a table reading class, and I pick who gets to read, and I'm listening to it, and it brought me to tears. So that was what was really profound about it, is that like I touched myself with this story. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I just think that how can you touch others if you can't touch yourself? That sounds so dirty.
You made it dirty. I did it. I
I'm
did
sorry.
it. That's all, I know what you're saying. But
My mind went there.
exactly. But I know exactly what you mean because, and that is a great sign. If you are moved by a story that you are creating, then it's a good sign that other people might feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I had everyone sobbing. I just want to add.
Ooh.
Everyone was crying. It was so good. I was like, if there are not tears, I'm not happy with this. I better see tears.
You're this Chinese Persian American woman creating her own path as an actor and now a writer, you know, and we live in a world that's very diverse, but not all the time do we actually get to see images and representation of people that we have in our regular lives. So how do you come out, like, how do you come towards that arena of representation in your work?
So representation is basically the mission of my storytelling. It wasn't when I first started in the industry. I was just in it because I needed a lot of attention because I had not worked through some stuff in my life. And it wasn't even my mission when I started writing Polyester, but something changed. I don't know what it was. I think it was when we got together with the girls. Something just clicked. Once we started sitting in the driver's seat, we were like, what is wrong with this industry? And how can we fix it? And how can we make it better? That's when we realized, like, for us, like, polyester is all about radical inclusion and diversity. It's about people who are, you know, not really accepted in other communities and come together in one community where they're all in a safe space. It's in all my work. Like, it's in everything that I write, everything that I've written thus far. Everyone is multi-ethnic. I always try to bring a character who's mixed into the story.
You gotta write about what you know, right? And
I gotta write what I know.
We're mixed babies.
Exactly. And then you know, the stories are queer centered because I'm queer. Everything I write, even before I knew I was queer, I wrote a screenplay when I was 21 in Asia. We don't like to talk about that screenplay.
You left it behind.
No, I tried to rework it. I've reworked it 100 times. Oh. I even took a UCLA extension class at the beginning of COVID to try and rework this script. And I finally, after $800 of this UCLA extension class, I realized this screenplay is going to die today. But the main character is gay. The main character is gay in this. So I tend to bring queer-centered stories with super ethnic people, and I like the intersections of that, as well as first generation, because being first generation is
there's a lot of pressure.
I don't even want. Yeah, that's a whole other episode.
And it's not like you're just first generation from one culture, but two.
Yeah.
And having to create a third culture within yourself as an American.
I call myself a third culture child for sure. Yeah, I'm a third culture child. Yeah.
Well, I definitely agree. I mean, once you start seeing the work in the industry be so homogenized and so intersectional that everything starts to feel the same, it gets stale real quick, especially when it doesn't represent the world around us.
Yes, absolutely. So everything that I'm, trying to bring to screen will definitely have a flavor of diversity. Even I'm working on a historical drama right now, and I'm completely rewriting the ethnicities of the series regular characters.
And what I love about your work, it's not just diversity in the sense of skin color and gender, but also on the levels of sexuality and cultural parameters of what is taboo and not, and who actually made that taboo in the first place. So it's it has depth and range, and
Yeah.
that's what I really find the most fascinating part of your work.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not just like, okay, we need a POC person here just to like fill in like the color spectrum. It's
Right.
not
It's not
about
like a
that.
quota thing, right? It's not a quota
No.
thing. It's like it's what I really like when I read your script and when I finally saw the material for polyester, I really felt that there was somebody behind this. There was a group of people behind this that actually are taking action to bring their contributions to the world and make the world a better place through their work.
That's what we're trying to do.
Hey.
We trying. We're not like, and look, we're not on high horses. Like we're constantly learning. Um, every time something shifts in the industry, we go back and we look at the script and we're like, is this acceptable anymore? Or do we need to hash out this specific storyline or this character? And we consult like, hey, is this appropriate? Like, if I'm writing about a community that I'm not a part of, I need to ask myself, am I even allowed to write about this character? And this is actually something that I'm working on with my university
Oh,
is
awesome.
I reached out to the department, to the film department at CSUN, and I was like, hey, like as a writer, and we're all graduate student writers, we're all like professionals in the industry. I have a question that I don't think has been answered. How do we like navigate writing about communities we're not a part of? Do we even write about communities we're not a part of? And like, how do we like get feedback if our writing is problematic? And how do I talk to someone if I think their writing is problematic? And so now they're starting to do like a workshop series, and we're like, I've been giving suggestions on like the kinds of like speakers that I would like to see and the kinds of like education that we'd like to receive as students and writers.
Oh, that's amazing. That is really incredible because like it goes beyond the hey, let's talk about writing mechanisms and devices and dialogue flow and really like make a synergized flow of how do you actually reframe certain subjects and how do you talk amongst each other. I feel that might be more valuable.
It is so important because television is a powerful educational tool. And this is my motto.
All right, let's hear it.
Normalize.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
My motto is normalize, not marginalize. And I ask myself this every time I write something. Am I normalizing this or am I marginalizing this community, this person, this character? If I think I'm marginalizing it, I need to like sit back and evaluate, why am I even like writing this character? Is this like a gimmick, or is this like a true story that I can tell? And if it's not, then I shouldn't be telling it.
Oh, I like that
So
because it really like makes you soul search and bring gravitas to every decision that you make.
well, I just don't take it lightly that, if you're a writer in the TV industry, you have like a speakerphone into the world. Like everyone looks at Hollywood and they think uh oh, like what I see is what like my life is. Like I was thinking about this in the shower today. I always shower with like the shower head behind me so I can like wash with my hair back.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was a kid, and that's how I showered. But then I watched in a movie or in a commercial where like she was turning and facing the shower head and showering. And I was like, oh, that's how people shower. And then only today did I realize that I was mimicking something that was only blocked because it looked good on camera, not because that's how things are actually done.
And sometimes what looks on camera feels so awkward with our bodies.
Oh my God. Like, as someone who's done like love scenes on camera, it is so awkward and it looks nothing like how it actually looks, or like,
Exactly.
you're talking like a foot away from someone's because it like you need the framing. And you're just like, God, I hope they don't smell my breath. Cause like in person, you have like a 3-4 foot like distance. So yeah. So basically the whole thing is what's on screen is not real, but let's try and like do the best we can with the tool that we are using.
Right, because you have to honor everything that you're doing and everything you want to say as a writer and as a storyteller to make it as authentic as possible. Because you're right, we are influencing the world by our decisions.
Yeah. And I would like to add as a disclaimer, I'm always learning. So really, I don't know shit. And one day someone's going to like look back at this podcast and be like, wow, Sarah Chang Tadayon is so problematic because A, B, and C reason. And that's what's amazing. That's what's amazing is that like
Exactly.
we're always growing.
And we have to evolve. If we don't evolve, we die.
Yep, exactly.
I want to take a moment to talk about your pole dancing because I've seen some of your videos. I've seen the work in the polyester stuff, but when I watch your videos of you dancing, it's incredible because you actually have this sense of freedom as you're dancing that is really inspiring to watch.
My goodness, thank you so much. Yeah, I started pole dancing. I danced my entire life. I've done like different kinds of dance my whole life. I even spent like the first year I was on TV in Taiwan, I was belly dancing on shows. So I got into pole around the time that I was working with the sea lions and thought I was going to go to accounting school or vet school or something. Like, side note, I have an MBA. During that time, I got my MBA. It was weird. Yeah, there was a lot of confusion going on in my life after I came back from Asia. Like 25 to 28 were weird years.
Right up until your Saturn return.
Yeah, it's like Jesus. So, what was I gonna say? I got into pole dance. I like found a Groupon. I called my belly dance girls. I was like, let's go to this pole dance studio. And it was like the sexiest shit I ever had in my entire life. I was like, oh my God. Like, even the warm up is sexy. Like, I can, like, feel so slimy and silky and whatever. And that's how I got started. And I competed in 3 different competitions. I placed bronze, like my first competition. And then I never placed again after that because I had to go up a level. And then I got too busy writing about pole dancing, so I basically never competed again. I got too busy writing about pole to actually pole. But this year with the pandemic, everything being shut down, I've just been dancing all the time, and I feel so free. And the community is so accepting, and it's great.
And earlier you were talking about how it's a stigmatized world. Tell me a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's interesting politics with the pole community. Like, before, like a few years ago, there was definitely like this, I am not a stripper, I'm a pole dancer, there's a difference. But that narrative has since shifted completely to, it doesn't fucking matter if you're a pole dancer, a stripper, a sex worker, whatever, contemporary, whatever. You're just expressing yourself. So let's just like be under the same umbrella and not judge each other and not exclude or like try and differentiate. Like, and now is about the time, because I was doing all aerial tricks, which is like the acrobatic shit that you see.
Right, that's like some Cirque du Soleil shit.
That's the Cirque du Soleil shit. But around that time, there was a huge shift where like Russian exotic came back. Where now, like, and that was the time that I bought my first 8-inch pleasers. Pleasers are like the shoes that pole dancers wear and strippers wear. That's the first time I bought my like 8-inch.
I've never actually heard that. I've heard like stilettos, but I've never heard of them being called pleasers.
That's the brand. Well, there's different brands. Yeah, that's a different brand. There's different brands, but pleasers are like the gold standard.
See, that's why I love podcasting. I'm always learning.
You're learning so many things. Yeah. So, I don't even remember what your question was.
Oh, we were talking about stigmatization of.
Oh, so yeah, there's. Oh my God! Wow, I don't even think I answered the question, but yes, when I like my attorney calls me the other day, and he's like, "Oh wow, like I see your pole dancing videos," and he's Persian, like my dad, and he's like, when I have a wife, like I'm gonna like let her like get a pole in my in my bedroom. And I was like, okay, there are so many things wrong with what you said. You're going to let her. And number two, why a pole in the bedroom? Like cool if you want to, but like, that's not what it is. It's not for you. It's for me. I'm not
Exactly.
dancing for the male gaze. I'm dancing for my gaze. I watch, like, I feel like most pole dancers that are being watched, maybe I'm dumb, I don't know this, but I feel like it's by other pole dancers. And
That makes
so,
complete sense.
yeah, like I don't know if guys watch pole. I really don't. Like, I really don't know,
But
because
you
I'm
have to be
so
like
sucked into the pole.
strong, right? To be able to get up there. That takes a lot of upper
Dude,
body strength. Like,
yes.
tell us about like the physical demanding side of it. Like, I understand the stigmatization. I understand all that, but I actually went to a party once, and they had a pole, and I tried to get up there and do some moves, and I hurt my shins, I hurt my forearms. I was like, "Yo, fuck this, I'm out."
That's what it feels like when you learn anything new on the pole and you're like, oh, fuck, this sucks. And like, you're in pain. Like, we talk about it all the time, how much it hurts and how like you don't want to do certain things unless you have your strength up that day. And there's so many things you can't do the first year unless you've been cross training and you got like an 8-pack. There's a lot of things you don't want to do in the beginning. You're just not able to. You're not able to do like a fucking, what's it called, like an aerial invert or like handsprings. Like, there's all these different, everything has a name, but it's freaking hard work. Like, I don't cross train, and I should, but yeah, you gotta have some strength.
Yeah, because I
But
like to do dancing videos of my own when I'm dancing. I like to drop them on Wednesdays. It's I feel the most free when I'm dancing.
interesting. I gotta see this
I'm never
videos.
afraid of dancing. I'll be back, when things were open. I'd be dancing at clubs, and girls would come up to me and they'd ask me if I was a dancer, and I would always say
Oh
yes,
wow.
because why not?
If
And
you're dancing, you're a dancer.
exactly. And I've been in some dance battles and stuff. Like,
What?
I heard that breakdancing is going to be an Olympic sport.
That's
Did
messed
you hear
up, man.
about
Pole
this?
dancing should be an Olympic sport before breakdancing. My opinion only.
That is incredible. I agree. All of it should be in there. There's also this, I know in our group of friends, there's this camping trip that happens.
Mm.
Tell me about this Burning Man thing.
Burning Man. Okay, well, it is created by this lovely man named Brandon Poller.
This is the kind of excursion you see in the movies, like some cool independent thing that inspires movies and inspires work, because this is real life. And I've been invited many times, but I never go because I'm busy, but the last time I was invited, you were pushing for me to go. And it was interesting because I had never really met you, and it felt so welcoming. And tell me what I missed. What is so special about
So,
Burning
Burning Man started off as a camping trip to this like horrible desert spot in Kern next to the river. And like the whole point was you could just jump in the river. And I think Brandon started it in high school. So, this is a bunch of my friends from high school. And that's how I know Veronica, and that's how I know like Alicia Sixtos and Andrea Sixtos. Is the whole Sixtos clan is through Kern. But it was this camping trip. And then one year he was like, let's move spots because we're always getting shut down by the camp hosts and it's so hot. Like, there's no shade, it's in the desert. So we moved it up to this private land, this private ranch. This guy has like 500 acres of wilderness, like in
Wow.
the top of the sequoias. So it's not even in Kern anymore. Now it's like in the sequoias, but we still call it Kern.
Got it.
But now that we have this like private land, this guy doesn't care what we do, which is crazy. I'm like, dude, you should have us sign liability waivers because people like almost die every year. Like, everyone, there's waterfalls, there's like rock slides, and like people like get shit faced and like fall and cut things open, lips and heads and chins and
I've
shit.
seen videos of people just sliding down rocks that are like gushing with water into like another body of water. And I can just imagine what that does to your body.
Dude, yeah. And so, but anyways, now it's like a homegrown festival. It's a festival that we just put up ourselves. We have like a little sound stage. And we have like a little acoustic stage. And I do this thing that's my thing. It's called the Cuddle Puddle.
Ooh.
And I bring like a bajillion squishy things. Like a bajillion squishy things. My parents are so mad because I keep all the squishy things in their garage. And they're like, what is all this squish for? I'm like, it's for the Cuddle Puddle. They're like, what's that? I'm like, it's a thing you don't understand. So every year I bring like shit tons of, I make this like big cuddly area. And I ask everyone, let's, contribute to the cuddly area. And then they leave it. So I have to take it all home, bring it back the next year. But the cool thing about the Cuddle Puddle is that, I don't want to get into it too much, but let's just say people get in trouble in the Cuddle Puddle.
Like, do people actually cuddle?
Everyone cuddles.
In the puddle?
Everyone cuddles, and let's just say the Cuddle Puddle has maybe started babies. I'm just saying, like, possibly started babies, definitely broken relationships, definitely started relationships. The Cuddle Puddle is a dangerous, dangerous place to be. I've never seen like an orgy. I'm just saying, like, people are so, like, it's cold. It's fucking cold. And so
people got to stay warm
together, and then, shit happens. And like, we'll have movie night. So Brandon will put up a movie on the projector in front of the Cuddle Puddle. The thing is like, no one wants to do the movie. Like, we're having so much fun. We're dancing and we're hanging out on the Cuddle Puddle. And he's like, I just spent 30 minutes putting up this projector. You're watching the damn movie. The one year he didn't put the movie up because the projector wasn't working, we partied way too hard on Friday, and then we like all died by Saturday. And he was like, this is why you have movie night on Friday night.
Right.
This is why.
Exactly. You got to pace yourself.
Yeah, we can't pace ourselves if there's no movie night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to bring it all back, I mean, that sounds like a great experience. I missed out. I don't know when.
Coming next year or whenever it's happening. I'm getting married. I'm getting married at the next one. So.
At the next Burning Man, you're getting married?
I was supposed to get married this year.
Oh, that's right. You got engaged.
And then I was going to get married this year at Burning Man, but it's all postponed until further notice. So
gotcha.
Next time you come, I'm getting married there.
Nice. And tell me a little bit about how have you been holding it down during this 2020?
Man, it's been an emotional roller coaster. I had some really hard mental health stuff in the beginning. Especially I had just come off working line producing this movie that like I feel like I almost had a nervous breakdown working on this movie. Then something shifted because we had so much momentum with Polyester. We were taking meetings, everyone was interested in the project, and then it all kind of just stopped. So like the thing that I've been working, like if you talked to me like a year ago, Polyester was the only thing you'd hear out of my mouth. It was everything. It was like my thing that was going to change my life, but like once it shut down, my priorities really shifted. Like I think everyone's really shifted to like, what's really important here? Like we got all this time now to sit and think. And I went camping. I went backpacking all the time. It's amazing. I've been wanting to backpack. I haven't backpacked. Dude, yeah, it was beautiful. Like I backpack like once every few years, but this summer we went like 6 or 7 times. I got to swim up in alpine lakes. It's beautiful. I went fishing once. I caught a fish. It was so cool. My dog loves camping. He's this tiny chihuahua, but he loves backpacking. So I did that, and I Clan of the Cave Bears, the series, The Earth's Children, which I sent you a copy.
Oh,
and I've been reading. Of course, I hope you like it. If you don't tell me. You're gonna like it.
I'm the same way. I'm like, if you don't like what I do, don't tell me.
Just don't tell me, because
keep it to yourself.
You're just something's wrong with you. No kidding. Honestly, like I'm in a really good place right now because I'm in grad school, and I accidentally ended up here because I lost my job and Polyester was on hold and auditions ended, everything stopped. So I'm writing, and I realized this 2 days ago. I don't think I loved anything as much as I do writing. I never really, because you think it's like so hard and stuff, but like I've been writing my entire life. Like I have journals that I've kept since I was like 15. And I wrote a book of poetry when I was younger, and I chronicled like everything, and I I didn't I knew I was a writer, but I didn't like know that I was a writer. And now like I know I'm a writer.
Hey, you got
So
that
I've been
belief
doing
in your
I
eyes now.
believe in myself. Yeah. And so it's been a really good feeling like finding that.
And what's interesting is that somehow through the bending of time and space, polyester found its way into my hands.
Yes. And okay, so we had a version of the trailer, which was great. Like, we loved that version of the trailer. I thought it was beautiful. It was very pole centered and not narrative centered. So it landed in your hands, Alicia Sixtos. So Alicia Sixtos is now a producer on it, as well as Bex, Taylor Klaus, and she somehow weaseled her way into your hands, like getting into your hands, which is we're like, what, Goose? Okay, yes,
Yeah,
we don't care what.
you know,
And the thing is before we go ahead,
because I was on deck to do it like a year before, and it never worked out because
it never worked out.
and it was, I wasn't like devastated, but I was like a little like, oh, I guess that didn't happen, and then now it's like, oh my god.
I mean, it was meant to be, because you were always meant to work on this. You do like amazing shit.
Thank you, by the way.
No, you're incredible.
And there were some things with it that I wanted to try, and I was able to break it open and crack things around and just maneuver it and really play with it. And then, Alicia and we worked through it together, and then it finally just sung one day and we cracked it.
It's funny because Alicia made it very clear not to bother you at all. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to bother. Like, literally, I don't know if you noticed that we literally did not talk to you.
That was actually really tough because like I have like friendships with all three of you. So,
Yeah.
and I was hanging out with Brianna during the middle of the edits. And of course, Veronica comes over, and I talk to you every now and then. So it was actually hard for myself to actually just mute myself because I didn't want to show it to you guys until it was ready.
Aww. Well, and also we didn't want to like micromanage at all. And we just wanted it to be like it's a you and Alicia thing. So when I watched it, I was literally like making the weirdest sounds. I was like gasping and like screaming and like laughing and like, oh my god, this is so like, and I couldn't watch it the whole way through. Like I had to like pause, start from the beginning, like 5 seconds in, I would stop it and start it all over from the beginning, stop it and start it all over. Like so many times I was like, hey, just watch it the whole way through. Just do it like once. I couldn't because I loved it so much that I had to repeat before I could even get through the whole thing. And then I call Alicia and I was like, or FaceTime. And I was like, I love it so much. And I start like sobbing, like actual sobbing, because it was so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And this, like what you brought was what I thought it was supposed to look like in the first place.
Yeah, I just feel that it's one of those things where the characters all have their own mission in their story, and it's really just about finding the sweet spot of when they all clash together, and that creates tension that everybody pops.
I'm just blown away by your storytelling. You told the story that was there that we like didn't know how to tell because we're not editors.
I always tell people that the way that I learned to edit was by sitting with my mother, surrounded by hundreds of photographs and all kinds of materials to build photo albums and create a narrative of all the photos and assemble them together and build a photo album that if in 100 years someone found this photo album in a time capsule or in the house and it was like hidden in the closet somewhere, that they can open up the photo album, and by just looking at the photos and the assembly of the photos, they could understand the narrative of the events of those photos.
Wow. um
So that's where that's the seed of my editing. It's that it's it's that's where it comes from.
Is your mother a storyteller?
Mm-hmm.
Like nat
My mother's a natural storyteller. She's an actor. She's a musician.
Wow.
She's a photographer as well. But what I love about the relationship I have with my mother is that she's always been a woman that has been able to find peace in her own personal expression, and that was her biggest gift to me, that no matter what was happening, no matter what family drama or no matter what turmoil that you could be surrounded by, as long as you have the freedom to be yourself and express yourself, that there was always going to be an opportunity to find peace and joy, because that was the essence that she expressed and continues to express.
That is so beautiful. I think that's such a gift to have someone so powerful in your life. I mean, a photo album that she wants it to be a narrative and she wants it to be so clear to anyone who's looking at it. I mean, that takes skill. That takes so much skill to to say like, okay, this is the thing, like this is the blueprint or this is the story and you have to figure it out without me spelling it out. It's a hard skill to learn. I'm still learning it, and that's beautiful. And that makes so much sense. Now that I see you and I've seen the work that you've done, like it makes so much sense.
Thank you very much. And I'm excited to see what you got up your sleeve and what you're going to do next.
Yes.
Even beyond polyester. It's like, I feel like you're just getting started with what you have to really say as who you are, as like you were born to do this.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you what I'm working on next. I'm line producing another indie queer pilot. I didn't write it. It's written by, I won't say the name yet because I don't know, what I'm supposed to talk about, but it's a really cool pilot. I'm producing it. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with COVID. We're planning on shooting in February, but you never know, it might get pushed back.
Right.
So I'm line producing that. And then right now I'm developing another show. I mean, right now it's just like in like the development stage of figuring out how to write the pilot. It is a reimagined life and times of Simone de Beauvoir, the French existentialist philosopher. She was around in the early 1900s during Nazi-occupied Paris. She was the founder of modern feminism, and she was an existentialist philosopher and was overshadowed by many men in her life, especially Jean-Paul Sartre, who was this great famous philosopher who was also her lifelong partner, but they were in an open relationship and she was queer. Hello. So I was like, whoa, hold on. There's this historical figure, like this character that was real, that like actually like had a very similar struggle as me. Okay, I got to figure this out. So I'm actually developing a show about her right now.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So it's like my partner and I've been, he's been helping me a lot with, and he's like, the hook is sex and Nazis. And I was like, okay, let's go with that.
Oh my goodness.
I'm reimagining it, like so I've actually mapped out all of her lovers, and it's a shit show. Like, she's not a perfect person. Like she had lovers on lovers, and Sartre was sharing some of the lovers, and then she was hiding like there's a web. Like, I created the web of lovers, and it's like it's an actual web that she's in the center of, and like there's so many ways that they're connected, like triads and this and that. It's like a shit show. And I forget where I was going with this. But yeah, it's a shit show. I can't remember where I was going with that. I lost my train of thought.
Well, speaking of train of thought, actually, I lose my train of thought all the time. So when I'm sitting with another writer, another creative person, I always like to pick their brain and, do a little quick rapid fire and figure out how they actually do their own workflow, because I feel that I can learn from them and introduce some techniques into my own. So, like, let's say, boom, tomorrow, what's the first thing you do, like, for your writing? Like, do you write every day, or do you spread it out, or how do you do your day-to-day writing?
So that's actually why I started going to grad school, was because I wanted to learn discipline with my writing. I would get up and I would write right when I got up. I am a night owl, which is weird. Like, I'm a night owl, but I can't write at night. I really don't know what it is. My mind is like active, but it's just doesn't happen. But daytime is when I write. I get up. I don't write. I basically write until it's like almost finished. I don't have like a schedule. I I do a lot of my writing in my mind, like throughout the week, like before I sit down to write it. Like, I'll think about it in the shower and I'll try and like work out the kinks, because like you turn in a draft,
Right.
and then your person comes back and says all these things that, like, you turn in like the best work you possibly could ever write.
Right.
And then they're like,
Do you start by hand, or are you always on the
no,
computer, or?
it's always on the computer. I am starting to do outlines and treat in like outlines and beat sheets. Before I didn't, and I'm really glad that I learned how to do that now.
Oh, that's very helpful.
I write it, I turn it in, which is, I think it's the best work. I think it's like God's gift to man. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. It's like so amazing. I should win like a fucking Emmy. And then my professor, whoever I'm working with, will turn it back in and be like, here's like 100 million things wrong with it.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I read the notes. I close my computer and I'm like, you know what? She's wrong. I'm great. I'm fucking fabulous. She's totally wrong. I actually have to like come back to it like 2 days later, because you've spent like, it's literally the best thing you think you could ever have written in your entire freaking life. And then you like have to somehow do it all over again, but even better. Like, I have to do the best work I've ever written, like, again, but more better. So I take time and I just like let the story write in my head. Like, I just let it write in my head. I like go to sleep thinking like, please God, like work it out in my dreams. Like, please help me. But then when I go to write it, I just let my hands do the talking. I don't even know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. Like, I'm just like, like it's funny because, we're working on a season of a TV show in my class, and I'm at episode 11. We had 13 episodes. And, we had all talked about like what we were doing. And then I write something that just kind of happened. And I'm like, I'm really sorry to episode 12 and 13. Like, I had these people, they slept together. I don't know what happened. Is that okay? Like, can I have that, or do I need to change it? Because if it's hard for your episode, like, I'll take it out. And they're like, fuck you, it's fine. And I'm like, I don't know what happened. Like, they wanted to do it. When I was writing it, they wanted to have sex. And so it just kind of happened.
How do you balance your actual personal life, like away from the industry, away from acting, away from writing? Like, how do you take all these creative things that you have and just really balance your life using the creativity and skills and that you have as a creative person?
Well, the interesting thing is I didn't have balance before COVID happened. I was like really like, I would do 150 into my work, and then I would crash and burn like really bad. And now everything's changed because like it's not as important anymore. Like, I don't really feel like if I don't make it, it's not going to be the end of the world for me. It's fine. So like having my priorities shift is what's created balance in my life. Like I, pole dancing is really important to me. It's a part of my like, routine. I read a lot. I love to watch, TV, and I like to hang out with my friends. I haven't been able to hang out with my friends, but I don't know, like I find a way to balance, but really it's interesting now that I'm thinking about it, is almost every single person in my life that I'm very close with works in the industry.
I know.
God, I've become that person. Like I'm thinking about like who are my friends and who am I hanging out with, and I'm like, oh God, we're all in the industry. Like even people I went like hiking with, like camping with, like, during the summer, they're all writers or filmmakers or whatever, producers, it's just kind of happened. But I think that's how we balance it, is we hang out and we don't talk about work.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today and talking shop with me because, I had seen a meme the other day about production doesn't happen and financing doesn't happen and actors don't rehearse until writers write. Like
Yep.
we create the blueprint of what things.
It's the blueprint.
The thing of what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that people, especially like, like everyday people, they don't really think about the writer when they're watching a film, and that's okay. That's kind of why I like it. You're kind of just like the man behind,
or the woman,
the thing, or the woman behind the thing, and there's a sense of like you are telling your own story through this medium, but it's not like, it doesn't have to be centered around you, which is like, I kind of like that. But yeah.
And plus, like, it could be a legacy. Like you can, in 100 years from now, they could find the work of Sarah Chang Tadayon, and they can mount a production based on your work, even centuries from now.
You know what? Who gives a fuck? Just have fun now and enjoy your life, right?